Well, if you are reading along with us in the Daily Walk reading schedule, you know this week we're reading the prophet Jeremiah, chapters 1 through 29. As we are in this long stretch now reading through the prophetic literature in the Old Testament, you're going to see some themes that are going to be pretty familiar. These warnings that come from the prophets to the people of God about turning away from their rebellious ways and turning their hearts back to God. But as you read the prophet Jeremiah, one of the things that you'll see, and one of the reasons I love this book, is that Jeremiah often acts out his prophetic message. Jeremiah chapter 7 is one example where we see this. Jeremiah chapter 7 verse 1. This is the word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord. Stand at the gate of the Lord's house and there proclaim this message. Hear the word of the Lord, all you people of Judah, who come through these gates to worship the Lord. This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. Reform your ways, your actions, and I will let you live in this place. Do not trust in deceptive words and say, this is the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord. You know, it's hard for us to imagine this scene, but just imagine, if you can, what this would have been like for Jeremiah to go to the temple. The temple in the Jewish faith was this place of religious significance. It was the place where God dwelt among his people. It's the place where worshipers would travel from all over the land of the Old Testament to make sacrifices and to come for feasts and festivals. It's possible that Jeremiah was there and this was happening during some appointed feast or sacrifice. And the people were coming into the place of worship where they were going to meet with their God. And at the gates of the temple stands Jeremiah the prophet with this prophetic word. And notice what he says. Do not trust in deceptive words and say, this is the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord. It's repeated even a third time, the temple of the Lord. Jeremiah is essentially saying to the people, like, you claim that just because the temple is there in Jerusalem, then we're okay with God and everything is safe and secure. The temple for an ancient Israelite would have been a sense of religious security, of identity, of even political security. As long as the temple was there, then everything was all right with God, and God was going to protect them because this is the place where the temple stood. Jeremiah is attacking this misplaced hope that they had in this building, in this place. He was attacking a misplaced hope that they had that said, as long as this building is there, then it didn't really matter what kind of lives they lived or what their religious affection was towards God. As long as a temple stood, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord. You know, as I read Jeremiah chapter 7, I can't help but just begin to wonder if Jeremiah was to attack or he was to question where we misplace our hope. What would he say? The church, the church, the church. You know, as long as we belong to a church, as long as we have this identity with a building or a local expression of the church, then regardless of how I'm living my life, I'm good because I've got this identity with a building or a place. Maybe it's a political hope, or country, or a political party, or maybe even it's a misplaced hope in our financial security or in our jobs or in our skills. Or what might it be for you? Jeremiah were to stand at the gates and question where we have misplaced our hope. And as important of a question as that is, what follows in verses 5 through 8, it presses even deeper into Jeremiah's challenge to the people of God. As you read verse 5 through verse 8, you'll notice a bunch of if-then statements. Verse 5, if you really change your ways and your actions and deal with each other justly, if you do not oppress the foreigner, the fatherless, or the widow, and do not shed innocent blood in this place, and if you do not follow other gods to your own harm, then, verse 7, I will let you live in this place, in the land I gave your ancestors forever and ever. But look, you are trusting in deceptive words that are worthless. You heard those if-then statements. If you do this, if you do this, if you do this, then I will. And notice what he says, then I will let you live in this land. I won't destroy the temple. I won't destroy the land. I will let you dwell here in this land that I promised a long, long, long time ago, and now your ancestors have been living in. And what's most striking to me about those if-then statements is that most of those if statements, that they don't sound religious. In fact, only one of those statements sort of sounded religious, if you don't follow other gods. But all of the others had to do with how the people of God were treating each other and foreigners. He says, if you deal with each other justly, if you do not oppress the foreigner and the fatherless and the widow, if you don't shed innocent blood. It's interesting to me that the focus of Jeremiah is, if you change these things, then God will let you live in the land. All have to do mostly with how they were interacting with each other, and even how they were interacting and showing care and compassion to those who were outside of the people of God. So here's Jeremiah standing at the gates of a temple with a message that says, God doesn't care about your religious claims. If there is injustice and oppression and a lack of compassion to others. There appears in Jeremiah 7 to at least be some correlation between how they treated foreigners, the fatherless, and the widows, and whether or not the temple itself was going to stay standing in Jerusalem. That's a very significant claim that Jeremiah, the prophet, is making. And so it seems, at least here in Jeremiah 7, that how we treat others, the foreigners and the widows, and how we act justly towards one another is more important to God than just showing up to a place of worship and saying or doing all the right things. And perhaps that would be a helpful reminder for us as we enter our places of worship and we seek to be the people of God who are making a difference in our world.